Hey brave souls, welcome back. Mental health has been tough all around, so we're making more videos than ever. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Our channel is all about understanding people, and today we're talking about something called trauma bonding and how it can mess with our relationships. If you've ever wondered what a trauma bond is, you're in the right place. In this video, we'll uncover the signs and shed light on this significant topic, aiming to provide understanding and awareness.
Do you know what it means to have a trauma bond with someone? Most people would wrongly assume that this means bonding with someone over shared trauma. But actually, trauma bonding is a defining characteristic of many toxic and abusive relationships. And it's often the main reason why we might find ourselves unable to leave them. A trauma bond refers to the deep emotional attachment one might feel towards their abuser. And it's more likely to develop in those who have a history of abuse, exploitation, or emotional codependency in their past relationships. Trauma bonds can easily be mistaken for feelings of love and commitment towards another person. So with that said, here are some signs to look out for that tell you if it's not actually love that you're experiencing, but a trauma bond. Number 1, the other person is outwardly charming. Of course, if given the choice, no one would willingly choose to pursue a relationship with someone who acts abusive towards them. The problem is, however, that toxic relationships don't start out that way. And it's usually only when you've already experienced the abuse that you start to realize something is wrong. You might develop a trauma bond with someone if they are outwardly charming, sweet, caring, and seem trustworthy to you. But don't be fooled. There might be something more sinister lurking beneath it all. Number 2, they are emotionally unpredictable. You might be asking yourself, why don't people just leave the relationships once they realize that it's unhealthy for them? But the trouble is, it's a lot harder to spot trauma bonding when it's up close and personal, compared to if you just saw it happening to someone else. This is because abusive partners can often be emotionally manipulative too. They might abuse you and devalue you only to shower you with kindness, apologies, and promises to change the next day. This serves as positive reinforcement to make you second guess any thoughts you might have of leaving them. Number 3, they tend to take their problems out on you. Think back to the last time this partner, friend, or family member heard some bad news or encountered a problem. How do they usually deal with it? Do they often lash out, take it out on you, even when you've done nothing wrong? They could be keeping you around as their psychological punching bag, and you deserve better than that. Number 4, they isolate you from your loved ones. Some people might think it's sweet to have someone who wants them all to themselves and gets jealous of those you spend your time with. But there's a difference between loving someone so much you want them around all the time and actively working to isolate them from the other important relationships in their lives. Does this person get mad at you for spending time with anyone who isn't them? Do they try to control who you're with or ask you to distance yourself from your friends and family? If the answer is yes, then that's as clear a red flag as any. Number 5, you deny or minimize their abusive behavior. Now, let's look at all the ways the trauma bond might affect you and your behavior. Oftentimes, the most telling sign that you're in a destructive relationship is if you find yourself constantly trying to deny or minimize the other person's wrongdoings. We look past all their mistreatment towards us and minimize the abuse by saying things like, oh, it's not that bad. Really. Or, I don't mind it, because in the moment, it's easier for us to just brush it off instead of confronting what might be a terrible, harsh reality, that the person you're with is abusing you. Number 6, you constantly make excuses for them. The moment you can no longer deny or minimize what the other person has done, and a family member or friend says something like, what they did to you is not okay, don't let them treat you like that, you're still most likely going to try to make excuses for them and come to their defense. At times, you might even find yourself feeling like you deserve their mistreatment. Once you start thinking like this, that is a critical sign that you are in a trauma bond and not a loving relationship. Number 7, you're becoming more and more emotionally numb. Have you noticed yourself feeling less and less lately? Like you're detached and emotionally numb? You might be feeling this way because subconsciously it's your mind's way of coping with all of the abuse that it's had to deal with from the person you're trauma bonded to. You can't take any more pain, fear, anger, or heartache. So instead, you close yourself off from all of your emotions. You're not as vibrant, talkative, or expressive as you used to be, and they're the reason why. And number 8, you're hiding aspects of your relationship from others. Finally, but perhaps most importantly, if you start to hide certain aspects of your relationship from those around you, then you know that there's definitely something wrong. Because why else would you actively try to cover up how bad things are getting between you two? Loyalty towards an abusive significant other is a hallmark of trauma bonding. So you might find yourself becoming defensive or even angered by other people's attempts to intervene in your relationship and help you. Do you relate to any of the things we've mentioned here? If you or anyone you know is trapped in a trauma bond with someone abusive, don't hesitate to speak out and seek professional help today. And if you need to, get in touch with authorities who can help you too. Did you find this video valuable? Tell us in the comments below. Please like and share it with friends that might find use in this video too.
In the dark and twisted world of Gotham City, a toxic bond unravels. It's when Dr. Harleen Quinzel becomes Harley Quinn and finds herself ensnared by the manipulative and abusive Joker. Even in real life, many people are falling into that same trap called trauma bond. For them, love will be painful and dangerous until they get the strength to escape. Are you one of those people? In this video, we'll take a look at Harley and Joker's relationship to help you see if you're stuck in a trauma bond. Traumatic roots. As a psychology intern, Dr. Harleen Quinzel treats the untreatable Joker at Arkham Asylum. From the start, he senses her vulnerability and preys on her ambition and compassion. He shares stories of his abusive childhood, intertwining humiliation with humor. He undresses himself without her consent, blurring boundaries. At that moment, he claims dominance and Harley is conquered. Instead of feeling repulsed, her brain sees shelter. In the midst of chaos, she's under his spell. And this is how a trauma bond is born. Out of the traumatic event. When you've been hurt by your partner in some way, it triggers intense emotional and physiological responses. Heightened arousal with increased release of stress hormones leads your brain to perceive the abuser as a source of safety. It seems paradoxical, but it's what it needs in order to survive. Before you know it, your brain adapts to this fate, forming a bond with the abuser. Love me, then hate me. As their relationship goes on, it's all but rainbows and sunshine. When Harley messes up, the Joker delivers punishment by grabbing, slapping, and throwing her. He shouts at her, declaring her a disappointment, a failure, a dolt. He isolates her from others and makes her believe she deserves it. But the very rare displays of affection, which he barely even mumbles, get her heart racing again. What we see here is the maintenance of a trauma bond. By using a psychological mechanism called intermittent reinforcement, your abuser alternates between periods of kindness or affection and episodes of abuse. They might insult you one day, only to bring you flowers the next, with tears in their eyes promising they'd change. That's when you enter a cycle of hope and despair, fearing the abuse but yearning for the love that follows after. False beliefs and loyalties. And just like Harley, you might not even feel abused anymore. When the Joker pushes her out of the window and her limp body hits the ground, she tells us that it's her fault. She should have got the joke. At this point in your trauma bond, you've developed cognitive distortions, which are inaccurate thinking patterns. You might rationalize or justify their behavior, blame yourself for the abuse, or minimize the harm done. Once again, your brain distorts your reality, desperately trying to survive by keeping you in a fantasy world. This further solidifies the trauma bond by creating a sense of loyalty or attachment to your abuser. You see them as caring, charming, damaged. Harley explained it best. It soon became clear to me the Joker, so often described as a raving, homicidal madman, was actually a tortured soul crying out for love and acceptance. A lost, injured child trying to make the world laugh at his antics. Just like Harley, you want to love your abuser. You want to care. You want to save them. But it's you who needs to be saved. Running towards the light. If you're in a trauma bond, we know your feelings towards this person might be very strong, and you may not feel like leaving. We understand that maybe at some point in the past, they were your bright light, But those who love you shouldn't hurt you like that. They should make you feel good about yourself, not the opposite. And you don't deserve this. Please don't wait until it's too late. Call a trusted friend, a family member, your doctor, or even the police if you're in physical danger. In the description box, we linked some hotlines and resources you can visit to help you come up with an escape plan. We believe that you can find a way to snap this bond apart. Find yourself again.
Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video on the signs of a trauma bond. If you found this information useful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for insightful content. Remember that understanding the dynamics of our relationships is important for our emotional health. Keep an eye out for our next video, in which we'll continue to delve into captivating aspects of psychology. Take care, and see you again soon.